Oh, that's odd. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Confessions of a Gaming Mum. So today, this is a bit of an unplanned video because I think basically I should start with the fact that yay, I got over 100 subscribers, woohoo! And yeah, thanks to everyone that has subscribed so far. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying the stuff that I'm doing so far. I know it's a bit different in terms of there might be some things about gaming, and there's some things about travel, and there's something about babies. So yeah, it's probably like a bit of potluck getting the videos that you actually would be interested in. But yeah, thanks for subscribing anyway. Let's hope we can get some more so I can actually start earning money from YouTube. That would be great. So but anyway, I think the whole reason is like why I've got so many new subscribers is that one of my Tomb Raider videos actually kind of it started getting recommended, I think, on other people's walls and stuff on YouTube, whatever it is you call it, I don't know. But yeah, it was getting recommended to other people on YouTube, hence it was getting more views. So I've got quite a few views on it so far. Views for this channel anyway, quite a few views that, like, compared to other videos that I've done that get like lucky to get 10. So so on that sort of note, I was obviously talking to my husband because the video that got so popular was the one about the leak and just about how much I hate Crystal. And obviously with my husband working for Square Enix, obviously is connected with the games in general. He sometimes can get a bit defensive of my opinions, so he was kind of the frame of mind of, well, what would be your perfect Tomb Raider game then? Let's hear it, because you're always moaning about the current ones. So I want to hear about what you actually think should be in a Tomb Raider game. And I was like, you know what? I've never actually sat down and actually thought thoroughly about what I want in a Tomb Raider game, in terms of, like, when I see something that they do in a Crystal game and I would say, oh, I wouldn't do that, I would do this and stuff like that. So I'd always concentrate on particular things. I wouldn't look at the broad picture. So for this video, I am going to be doing a lot of soul searching, and I'm going to try and come out with, or like envision, my perfect Tomb Raider game. And because I imagine this is going to be quite long, I'm going to split it into two videos. So today's video is going to be about Tomb Raider as a whole in terms of your gaming experience, and then the next video, because I think that will probably need a lot more planning, is going to be about Lara herself. And I mean, you get a lot of people say, well, it shouldn't really matter about Lara in the game, but we know that's not true. We know everyone, whenever a Tomb Raider game comes out, people focus on Lara. So yeah, so my next video I will be talking about Lara. So today I'm solely concentrating on Tomb Raider as a game in general. So let's just imagine, we're going to use our imagination here. I'm not going to have people go, well, that's never going to happen. Imagination is a powerful thing, and it's quite useful when it comes to actually thinking about things that aren't real as well. So give it a go. So yes, let's imagine, shall we, that like one of the big wigs at Square Enix just called me up one day and was just like, we know now, we understand that just how amazing you are as a fan and dedicated to the franchise of Tomb Raider. We've been just blinded for so long by this bitterness that Crystal hates, and we've just fired them. We've just got rid of them. We've taken Tomb Raider away from them and we're giving it to you. We are giving the franchise to you. So, what do you want to do with it? So, right, so we've got to sort of pick things out now to try and just like get an idea of things and to see where this can go. So firstly, I thought I'd talk about a developer, because obviously in the ideal world Crystal wouldn't be involved. So for me, I think if people watch my Let's Plays, that I did actually mention this, I think maybe in my last video, about the fact that I think Naughty Dog would be really good developer for Tomb Raider. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me on this, but I think they would be really good. I know a lot of people said Ubisoft, because of some recent news that's been going around about the new, I think it's a character skin that you can get in Rainbow Siege 6. I said, I don't, I've seen the pictures and I was like, oh, that's nice. But when it comes to the name of the game, I'm just like, not something I play, so I'm not that interested. So, and you've got that Brawlhalla as well, where you've got a Lara skin as well. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on at the moment in terms of Lara skins, not actual Tomb Raider games. So that's by the by, really, and yeah, I can leave that for the next video. But yeah, so a lot of people have been saying about Ubisoft, and I don't know if I have enough experience of Ubisoft as a developer to really agree or disagree on that. I think in a really ideal world, what I would love to see is to see Tomb Raider come back to a British developer. So obviously maybe like an indie developer gets given the franchise. So one, like I said, it comes back to being British, so, and obviously a British developer, you would hope, would understand how a British person, a British woman, would talk and act and speak and things like that. So so that would be good, because Lara has got a bit Americanized. Again, I'm talking about Lara, I need to talk about the game. But yeah, so I think in an ideal world, this is obviously if I had just had like unlimited pockets, I would either create an indie developer or hire an indie developer. I mean, obviously you've got the whole thing, if I was to create one, I would just recreate core design version 2 and and then have the old employees from the company who had experience of working on Tomb Raider, have them as maybe advisors. They probably wouldn't want to work on a new Tomb Raider game, they're probably over that by now, but you never know, they might want to work on it. I'd offer them the roles to be able to work on it. But yeah, it'd be nice to sort of inject new blood into it, in terms of obviously bringing new ideas to the front, and but also keeping within what the franchise like stands for and where it's always done, sort of thing. But yeah, so those are my ideas. I mean, when it comes to Naughty Dog doing it, I mean, I don't know if people realise I am actually a massive fan of Naughty Dog. Last of Us is one of my favourite games, Uncharted is some of my favourite games, and I know I get a lot of hate for the fact that I'm an Uncharted fan and a Tomb Raider fan at the same time. But they're so similar, and people need to get over themselves and just play the games and enjoy them for what they are, rather than just trying to be like defensive on what Tomb Raider is now. Get over it. Like, Tomb Raider now is just a poor man's Uncharted. So but yeah, I just think Naughty Dog just have this fantastic way. I mean, I think if you haven't, I think you really need to play Uncharted Lost Legacy, because that's probably as close to a Tomb Raider game as we've had in a very long time, with Chloe, the main character in it, and just like the exploration and the banter between the two characters. And yeah, like Uncharted is still combat heavy compared to what I would like in a Tomb Raider game, but it's still, that's Uncharted. You get that with Uncharted. With Tomb Raider, like what we have now, it's just not a Tomb Raider game for me, having all the combat in it. With Naughty Dog, I just think as well that they have a fantastic way of writing stories. Like I said, you've got The Last of Us, and with Uncharted 4, and like the stories they had with that, and they know how to write characters, I think. So yeah, so for me, rather than going too much into depth about things like that, but yeah, for me, just Naughty Dog would be perfect if I couldn't get if we couldn't get like a British indie developer to do it. I do think what's been missing from recent Tomb Raider games, although I think Shadow did quite a good job of this, is the atmosphere. Like I remember like just playing, I mean mainly in the first game. I remember when I first played it, I was only 11 at the time when I was playing it. I just remember being so scared all the time, just because of just the random atmospheric noises that were going on. And like I think it's why Tomb Raider 4 is one of my favourite games, even though it's set in one location in Egypt. Just the music and just the ambience that you get from just random just off like random notes that you just hear just randomly as you're walking around, or like exploring the places around you and stuff. And it really, I it, like, for me, and it just added so much to it. And I do think that, like I said, Shadow, I think, did that really well. So like when you go into the tombs and you'll just have like this, it doesn't even have to be just like ongoing music, just to have some, like a little something in the background. Just every so often, like you hear something and it just really like sends chills down your spine and things like that. And I think that was really missing from basically since Legend and all the way through the reboot until we got to Shadow, really. And that to me was just, it was what Tomb Raider was all about. It just tackled your senses, like with your hearing, and just listening out for things, and like you might not even register it when you first listen to it, but I think it just all adds to the atmosphere, and I absolutely love it. And like the lighting as well is another good one. I think they did that quite well in the new games, obviously because of like the graphics and sort of the technology that's come along in the last few years, and they do it really well, like in the beginning of the first reboot, with like her walking through the caves with just like a flaming torch and things like that. I mean, that was really well done, like I said, with the lighting and everything. But yeah, I don't think they used it really enough, and like I said, I just think they did it so well in Shadow, with like all the tombs and just how it just, everything was just, I just think they just used it very well. And I just remember when I was younger, like playing the old games and like having to like I always just had a headache trying to play Tomb Raider in the summer, because of the light coming through the window, and the games were so dark I couldn't actually see on my screen because it was just, all the light was reflected on my screen. And I think they did the atmosphere really well in Shadow. So, but I'd like to see them expand on that. But again, this is Eidos Montreal that technically was making it, so we can't give Crystal a lot of praise there. So yeah, so I'd love to see that sort of carry on into the next one, because to me, a Tomb Raider game, it doesn't need to be terrifying like Resident Evil or like Silent Hill. It doesn't need to be that scary, but it needs to be, to me, it just needs to have atmosphere. It needs to give you, like I said, those shivers down your spine. You need to be apprehensive, you need to be on edge, because just imagine like you walking around this tomb that no one's been in for like 5,000 years, and you don't know what the hell's down there. You're going to be a bit on edge, you're going to be a bit apprehensive. And in order for us to be in that sort of same situation with Lara, they need to be able to add those things into it. So like I said, the lighting and or lack of it, and again with the music or lack of it, and just having sound effects and just random things in there just to really get you into that game and really pull you in, I think is just so important. And I really think they forget that with the other games. They were just kind of like, let's just tell Lara's story and just get her to shoot a load of bad guys and that should be fine. Okay, obviously another important thing with Tomb Raider games is locations, because I think with a lot of people it means a lot in terms of the locations that Lara does actually go to in the games. And you see the arguments constantly in terms of, should it be one location for a game, or should it be multiple locations? And I think the main argument is that there should be multiple locations, because it gets a bit stale and a bit boring when you have it in one location. And to be fair, I mean, I'm easy either way in terms of, I mean, like I said, one of my favourite games of the Tomb Raider franchise is Tomb Raider Last Revelation, and that's just in one area, but that's because I am absolutely obsessed with Egypt. So to me it was just a dream come true when Lara went to Egypt. And like my favourite current Tomb Raider is Shadow, in terms of just like in terms of reboot. And again, that was just in one place, but I think they just added so much more variety to it, that unlike like with Rise, where it was just all snow and grey, and again with Reboot, where it was just, yeah, it was just rainy cliffs and stuff in Japan, and just, again, it's just very grey and just monotone and just not a lot of colour and stuff. But I think you get that with Shadow, and I think that's the thing. I think when you have lack of travel and stuff like that, I think you need to be able to keep people interested in what's going on. So yeah, it could be in one location, but you need to have different types of areas in that location. And so like obviously with Last Revelation, you'd have Lara climbing a pyramid, or you'd have her doing like underwater puzzles, or you'd find her in a tomb that's just absolutely just bursting with colour from like all the paintings and decorations on the wall and things like that. So to me, that's what kept me interested, I think, in terms of it like, you can imagine, you think Egypt and you just think, or as Lara says in the movie, it's just nothing but pyramids and sand. But again, and like when I went to Egypt a couple of years ago, and when you go into the tombs and just the amount of colour that you see on the walls and on their, just in their artwork and everything, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I think that's probably why I would love to see another Tomb Raider game with today's technology and like the graphics and stuff. I would love to see an Egypt game, although technically we kind of got that with like Assassin's Creed Origins, but again, that's an Assassin's Creed game, so and that was set in ancient Egypt, so it was going to be a bit more colour. But I'd love to see how they would do it now. I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, in terms of locations, like I said, I mean I'm not a massive fan of like jungle stuff. I think that's been done quite a lot now. I think especially with like, I mean, you had it a lot with Underworld, and I think, did Legend do it? I can't even remember. And with like Shadow, it was just a lot of jungle, and I think we need to move away from that. We do need to move closer towards actually having tombs in the game, and I think, again, I was very happy with what they did in Shadow, but again, it was more just like side quests. When you go back to like the original games, well, not Tomb Raider 2 and 3 or 5, but with like 1 and 4, it's probably one of my favourite, to be honest. It was just like all tombs, so it was just Lara just in this massive empty space, just being like, right, where do I go now? And to me, that was what really pulled me in, just that feeling of isolation. I think that goes back to the atmosphere as well, just having that pure feeling of isolation and just being on your own and just having to just rely on yourself to get stuff done. And to me, I think you get that so much when you're in this enclosed space on your own. Like I said, in a tomb, you've got no one talking to you on a bloody headset, you've got no one like helping you out or anything. It's just you in this space trying to work things out. And again, the game is Tomb Raider, so the clue's in the name. She needs to be getting back into the tombs, and I think this is what a lot of fans have been like begging Crystal for years, to get her back into the tombs, and it's just not been happening. So yeah, hence why I would like someone else to take charge who actually gets the idea that a Tomb Raider needs to actually go back into the tombs. So yeah, I'm gonna go back onto like music, who I'd ideally like to do the music, and I don't know if this would be a surprise to anyone who I'd like to do it, but I would love Peter Connolly to get back onto it, because some of my favourite music from the Tomb Raider games is from what Pete recreated. So like in Last Revelation, and I mean, I even love the music from Chronicles. Like, I know a lot of people don't think much of Chronicles the game, but I love the music. That was one of my favourite things from it. And again, Angel of Darkness, it was just such an epic soundtrack. If you guys haven't listened to Tomb Raider Dark Angel soundtrack, then you really need to get on it, because it's on Spotify now, so you don't even have to pay for the album. You can just go on Spotify and listen to it and just see how amazing it is. I'll leave a link down below as well if you're not sure like how to look for it or whatever. I'm pretty sure people can navigate Spotify, but just in case, I'll leave a link down below. But no, I'll leave a link to their website as well, so you can take a look at the whole project and stuff, because it was a lot of hard work for them, and they've done really well with it. So yeah, I'll leave a link for that as well. But yeah, I think Pete, for me, just did such a fantastic job with the atmosphere. Like I said, I think with Last Revelation, the music that he created really helped with the atmosphere. So to me, I'd love to see what he could do like nowadays with, like I said, I don't know, it's one of those things where when you look at like the graphic side of things, because I think it was an argument they used a lot with Anniversary, when they made Anniversary, that you can't really recreate the game as it was originally in modern graphics. It just doesn't have that impact that it does. So it'd be interesting to see if with the graphics, if they're able to make it as I think they can, because like I said, I think Shadow did a really good job of it, and as well with the music in Shadow, so I don't see how it would be much of an issue to make it as atmospheric with the graphics and the music. But yeah, I would definitely say I would want Peter Connolly to do the music, and make sure you listen to Dark Angel soundtrack because it's awesome. So but yeah, so I'm going to talk about graphics. So not that I know a lot about graphics. It's the one thing I can say about the reboot is that it does look like a stunning game. It looks like a stunning game, if only it played like a decent game. Like I said, there's some bits that you look at because I remember when I first played the reboot and how awesome I thought it looked, and then just being really disappointed that you didn't get as much potential as I thought you could. So it was in like the old games, you could just go anywhere you want pretty much, or you'd at least have fun trying to get to places you didn't know if you could get to, and you don't really have that with the new ones. It's kind of like you can go there, then there's an invisible wall and you can't get there anymore, sort of thing. So to me, I do think that they need to, because I don't want them to go back to like how cartoony it was with Legend and Underworld and that trilogy. I just think, even though the general graphics were okay, and again I'm talking about Lara and I need to save it for the next one, but I don't like that cartoony style for Tomb Raider. I want it to be as realistic as possible visually. Gameplay doesn't have to be realistic, but I'd like to be in that realistic world because it just looks absolutely stunning. It's just a real sort of feast for my eyes when it looks that gorgeous. And like obviously in that, like in Rise, I think in Syria, again I've only watched my husband play, I haven't actually played it for myself, but they made such stunning set pieces, but then you don't really get to be able to do much in them. So for me, yeah, it's just I'd love for them to continue in that sense, in terms of visually how good it looks, but then don't just use it as a set piece for a gunfight. Make it like into just this massive epic puzzle. I think they kind of did it like with Anniversary, like with the waterfall, just how big they made the sort of the cogs bit work so you could get behind the waterfall to move on to the next level. I haven't played Anniversary in ages, so I can't remember the full detail, but I just remember they made that puzzle quite a big thing, I think. Again, I don't really remember, so I can't really say for certain, but I do remember it looking like it was a big puzzle to solve, and that's the sort of stuff I love, when you make that whole level just one big puzzle. And that's what I really miss with Tomb Raider games, is having that sort of challenge in there and just looking at this room and just going, wow, this looks epic, I can't wait to just sink my teeth into it. And like I said, I keep saying it, we did have that in terms of you're like absolutely amazing, but again you'll just have one little bit of puzzle and then there'll be a shootout. So get rid of all that, just stop making it so disappointing. Make the most of it being just an absolutely massive and epic set piece, and the fans will love it. I think old and new fans would love that sort of stuff, because then you get to make the most out of what you've created. I think it shouldn't be that difficult. I don't know. Like I said, I know nothing about graphics. So then we go back, obviously we naturally just go into gameplay, and I do just think, yeah, they need to go back to basics with it, because I just think they've really lost their way with the gameplay for Tomb Raider games, because now it just seems to be all about the combat, and I hate that. I just hate combat in games because I can't shoot for shit. If anyone's watching my Last of Us playthrough, you will see this. But to me, yeah, it was never about the combat in a Tomb Raider game. It was like they had an enemy every so often just to keep you on your toes, sort of thing, not so it's just like one long puzzle. It was like just to make sure you're just not getting too lazy or too comfortable in where you are. So you'd have like a random wolf come out, or a leopard come out of or not even leopard in those games, it's like a jaguar come out of a door that you've like, yes, I've just found this secret door, and then a leopard, or like I said, like a jaguar comes out and attacks you for you finding the secret door. And it's like, that's the sort of stuff I'd love to see again. But we don't really get that in the new games. It's just, like I said, it's just always about the combat, and just, it takes it away from me. It's like, I want to I want to be challenged, and not through combat. I want to be challenged in, like, in terms of mentally thinking about what I need to do next. I want to be able to walk into a room and just be like, right, where the hell do I go? What the hell do I do in this room? Shadow did that quite well in a few parts of it, but again, you still had a lot of combat in it, but I think that's just them following the formula of the last 2 games. I don't see how they can't make it possible to have puzzles that aren't physics puzzles nowadays. Why do they have to make it that every single puzzle is a physics puzzle? I just don't get it. Yeah, I just miss the whole thing of being able to climb and then looking for a switch and then finding a key and things like that. I don't understand why they can't do that anymore. And like, if you go back to Lost Legacy and you look at some of the puzzles that they had in that game, and it was like using pressure pads and to get around a puzzle and things like that. It's like, and I think they did it in Uncharted 4 as well. Like, you had to make sure you walked a certain way, and he'd reference his notebook and stuff like that. I mean, I can't understand why they can't do things like that in modern Tomb Raider games. If they can do it in Uncharted, they can do it in Tomb Raider. I mean, I know they probably think that they're copying, but you're copying Tomb Raider, Uncharted enough anyway, so the way they do puzzles isn't exactly going to be a big thing, considering Tomb Raider is is where Uncharted got it from in the first place. So I mean, don't even necessarily have to reference a notebook, you just have to kind of work out a pattern or something. I don't know, but it's just, we need to go back to the old style puzzles, because it's fine having some physics puzzles, because obviously then that gives a bit of variety, but it shouldn't all be physics puzzles. I think we need to have, like I said, a bit more variety when it comes to those puzzles, and something that's a bit more challenging. I mean, there was one thing I liked about Shadow, again, how they did it in terms of you could change the level of, like, how hard you played different, or how hard you had each different feature. So you'd have like combat, you could have easy, medium or hard, you could have puzzles, medium, easy and hard, and what's the word, like exploration, like easy, medium or hard, so you'd know, like they'd tell you where to go if you would put it on easy, otherwise you'd have to just look for yourself, sort of thing, if you put it on hard and things like that. So like for me, I had everything on hard apart from combat I had on easy, because I've got no time for that. It's not a Tomb Raider game with combat, therefore I just want to be able to get the combat out of the way, sort of thing. So even then I found it quite hard and just all got in the way, because it was just all pretty much combat a lot of the time. So yeah, but I think if they were to make the games like I'm talking about now, then we wouldn't have a need for that sort of stuff. Because you wouldn't have to put combat on easy, because there'd be barely any combat in there. I mean, obviously you do need to have combat because you need a boss battle at the end, because every classic Tomb Raider game has a boss battle. And obviously you have like all the different guns and weapons that you can collect along the way, because the enemies get progressively harder as you go along, which is natural because that's what happens in games. It gets harder and harder as you go along. But yeah, I just think the emphasis on and I think that was a reason I didn't really enjoy Tomb Raider 2 so much, like it's not my favourite game, even though obviously compared to now it's not so bad, but I hated the amount of enemies that was in Tomb Raider 2. I was like, I just want to be running around and exploring and pulling switches and stuff and finding keys, but now I'm having to kill a dog or like his bat-wielding owner. So yeah, so that's what I hated about like Tomb Raider 2. So I'd always love to go back to Tomb Raider 1 and just be able to run around and explore in there. But like I said, even to like today's standards, Tomb Raider 2 barely had any enemies in it. And again, it was just like one at a time, maybe. It weren't like a load, or I guess you'd have like a handful, but again, it weren't like waves upon waves of enemies like what we get now. And I don't see why they feel that that's needed. I guess that they just want to appeal to like the casual gamer who's just like plays Call of Duty when they're not playing Tomb Raider. I don't know, but but yeah, to me, I just think there's way too much combat in the game. It needs to be more about the puzzles. It needs to be about the exploration. It needs to get everyone thinking. It needs to challenge people, and it doesn't challenge people anymore, apart from, like I said, the bloody combat. And the puzzles, like I said, there needs to be more variety than just physics puzzles. There needs to be, and I mean, even just climbing puzzles, because I think they did that a lot in the older games. So, and also with the gameplay, they need to have more teams, as I said before, with locations. There needs to be more tombs in these games. Like I said, I miss that whole thing of just walking into a room and just wondering where I have to go next, and then just running around for half an hour trying to figure out what I need to do. Another good thing I think to have, actually, because I never really had it in the older games, which was hand-to-hand combat, because we always saw like Lara would always be this ass-kicking, just someone who knew how to look after herself, so to speak. And in the old games, all you really saw, I mean, in the sort of cutscenes, you'd see her like kick someone in the face or whatever, or punch someone or whatever, but you never saw that you can actually do that within the game. So I think that would be really good to add to it as well, just having her like maybe have her just really good at karate so she can just use the, or just even be able to use like the butt of a rifle or whatever to just like break someone's nose or something. It would, if you're going to have combat in there, give her more than just guns or like a knife. Just like, she is meant to be, like I said, she's a strong, powerful woman who's as strong as any man. It's not like because she's a woman she can do this. It's because she's just an ass kicker. She can do that sort of stuff. And like I said, if they can do it in Last of Us, if they can do it in Uncharted, then I don't see why you can't have her like karate chopping someone and like just detaching their windpipe or whatever. She needs to have that hand-to-hand combat as well to show that she is resourceful when it comes to how she deals with problems, i.e. enemies. So yeah, I'd love to see that finally brought into a Tomb Raider game. Right, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is the story, and I'm hoping this video isn't too much of me rambling. I've got a splitting headache right now for some unknown reason, and I just have a really bad feeling this video is just me randomly rambling about things. But hopefully it makes sense, and hopefully you guys agree with me in what I'm saying. But anyway, story. Right, again, I think it just needs to go back to the same old formula in terms of Lara going after an artifact, and either she does something wrong or she's being chased by some evil corporation or something like that. But what it should be about for me is the adventure and the exploration. It shouldn't be about Lara's daddy issues. It shouldn't be about her, like how she's fighting her conscience or her memories and shit like that. It should just be about what you're doing in the game at that precise in that moment in time. It should not be about Lara herself, and I hate the way that they've done that in the new games. It's I don't have any interest in that. Like I said, I do love the old Lara, but the new Lara, it just really pisses me off how she's made it all about her. Like what Jonah says in Shadow, it's not all about you, and it's not Lara, get over yourself. It needs to be about the mission on hand. It needs to be about you getting to the post first and winning that big reward at the end. That's what it needs to be about. It needs to be about how you're going to solve this puzzle. It needs to be about how you're going to get from that ledge to the other. It doesn't need to be about how you're feeling at this point in time. It needs to be about everything as a whole. See, I think the story in Shadow was okay in terms of it tried to not make it too much about Lara's family. But obviously because they had to finish off that storyline, it had to be in there. They were obligated to put it in there, so I can forgive them for that. But in terms of like, and again, it was like with Legend and Anniversary and Underworld, all I can remember, they're like the lasting memories I have from that game is just, I have to find out what happened to my mother, and it's just, oh. Just stop it, just stop. No, it needs to be about what you're doing. It needs to be about the adventure. And again, like I miss the Lara from the original where she says,
I'm sorry, I only play for sport.
That's what it needs to be about. And I mean, you had not even in the original Tomb Raider, she's offered a shit ton of money and she says no. She said, I don't want the money, I like what I do for the adventure, for the excitement, and that's what we need to get back into Tomb Raider game. And you get that with the story as well, in terms of, don't want to know Lara's backstory within the game. It's fine to have it, like, yes, you can have a bio and stuff. Again, I'm talking about Lara and I need to be talking about Tomb Raider, but this is story linked anyway. You save like Lara's bio for like comics or something. That's where that belongs. But within the game itself, the story needs to be about what you're doing at that precise moment. That's for me anyway. I mean, I know games are getting a lot of that. Like I said, I keep going back to The Last of Us and stuff like that, but to me they're great stories. But yeah, we're in like The Last of Us, where it does have that like the emotional turmoil and the back stories and stuff like that. But those are the sort of games that will have that sort of thing. Tomb Raider was always about what adventure are we going on next, and that's how it should stay within the game. I don't need to know what Lara bought for her groceries last week. I want to know, maybe even like just show her like sitting in the library looking for something, like she's studying one thing, but then another book falls out next to her and she decides that she wants to look that up instead because that's something that she's never even thought of looking at. Stuff like that, or even just like finding connection between things, just like, again, like a corporation that she thinks is a bit dodgy has started looking in at something over here, but then she finds something else is connected. Just things like that are fine, but when it comes to just getting too personal, that's when it's like, no, I don't have time for that, please. I just want to get on with having an adventure and having fun. I'm rambling again, aren't I? And this is what Tomb Raider does to me, especially when I got a headache. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there because, like I said, I don't want to ramble too much on this. So like I said, this is going to be part 1. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you'll look forward to my thoughts on the next one. So yeah, so this is part 1. I'll do part 2 next week, which will be about Lara. Or what my overall plan to do is to do some, like, ask you guys questions. So I'll do some polls on my social media, so make sure you like start following my social media, because I'll post it on Twitter and Facebook. I'll do some polls and I'm going to see what the overall idea, like what the fans think. So like I said, I'm putting this all to you guys. I want to know what you guys think, and then in a couple of weeks time I'll do a video once I've got as much feedback as possible on the polls. Then I'll actually do a video and actually see what everyone else thinks, and if people agree with me about certain things. Like, I hope this video makes sense and I make sense and I'm not rambling too much and I'm not being too generalizing on things. I don't know, but like my brain is just really suffering right now and I don't know why, so I'm not really able to give sort of specifics on things. But yeah, hopefully I've been able to give a general idea of what I want to see in a Tomb Raider game, and it's not what we're currently getting. So hopefully it'll work, and like I said, next week I'll be talking about Lara, so tune in for that one. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, then please either like, share it as well with all your Tomb Raider loving friends to spark up a conversation. Also have a conversation down below, because I like joining in and having a discussion with you guys, because it was really good on the last Tomb Raider video, just how many people commented. It was really good being able to hear other people's views and stuff, so I do really enjoy it when you guys comment, so please make sure you comment. And also, yeah, like I said, share the video, join me on social media as well so you don't miss out on the polls to have your say. And yeah, you can also sign up to my Patreon if you fancy just giving me some money, because that would really help, but I'm not pushing it in any way. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I shall see you all in the next video. Bye.